This episode of Small Town Western New York was made possible by the following supporters. Hi, on this episode of Small Town Western New York, I'm taking a day trip to a real gem of a Western New York town. It's super well appointed with great architecture and interesting history, and even comes complete with not only the Erie Canal at its doorstep, but a fantastic little harbor sitting right in the heart of downtown. I'm headed to the village of Medina. I'm starting my day trip today, not in Medina, but in another hamlet just up the road, that had it not been for the Erie Canal coming to town, may have now been what we see in Medina today. You see, in the early years of the 19th century, a few hardy settlers were moving west along a well-worn Indian trail, the Ridge Road, and at the place where this forest highway crossed the Oak Orchard River, a bustling settlement emerged. And by 1811, Oak Orchard was well on its way to becoming a smart little village. But just a few miles to the south, another highway now crossed the Oak Orchard River, a new highway of water, and with it came colossal change. The Erie Canal had arrived, and unimaginable prosperity flowed along with it, far beyond anything that had been seen at Oak Orchard on the Ridge. A new settlement, a boom town was rising, and rising quickly on the banks of the canal. A superior new building material had even been discovered there too, and as this village grew, Oak Orchard faded, quickly becoming lost in the shadow of this new regional juggernaut. The place where this watered highway crossed the Oak Orchard River was Medina, and the boom of prosperity there seemed unstoppable. Of course, that was a few years ago, and the town has seen its share of ups and downs since. But over the last few decades, the town has solidified into something truly magical, and through the unyielding efforts of a few of the local preservation groups, Medina was able to retain its heart and good bones. And what we see today is a direct result of those efforts. The cornerstone, bad pun intended, of Medina's economy, history, and architectural greatness lies deep in the proprietary sandstone that laid in waiting for centuries, just a few feet under its ground, until it was discovered while the Erie Canal was being dug. And once word began to spread that it made one heck of a building material, the industry began to take off, with Medina sandstone being shipped far and wide for use in the creation of buildings of all types and sizes. I thought it warranted a meeting with Jim Hancock, who I heard knows a thing or two about the stone's history, to give me a quick tour of the Sandstone Museum at City Hall.
About 7 years after the canal was completed, Medina was incorporated. What was interesting, too, is that around that time, they discovered sandstone, a deposit of stone.
So did they discover that so they were digging the canal and they found it?
They digging the canal and they found it.
Okay.
So only maybe 4 or 5 feet below surface, there was a stone. Between Medina, Albion, and Holly is where this strata of stone was discovered.
Okay.
And because it was discovered in Medina, they came up with Medina sandstone.
I just wanted to point out a couple of the structures made of Medina sandstone that we hear right here in Medina.
Right.
That we feel are outstanding examples of quality, longevity, beauty, uniqueness. Mm-hmm. Those are all the qualities that we look for. And in Medina, there's St. John's Episcopal Church, there's the Medina Armory, and there's St. Mary's Catholic Church.
Okay.
Those are all beautiful examples of Medina sandstone right here in Medina.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to go out of the town.
You don't have to go out of the town. And this one in particular is the most recent inductee into the Hall of Fame. And it's the Bent's Opera House, and it's located just a block down the street.
Okay.
You probably see it.
Yep.
And what's unique about this is that this building was completed in 1865.
Wow.
So that means that building has been standing, the Medina Sandstone building has been standing for about 157 years. There's 3 different floors. The first floor now is a restaurant.
Okay.
The second floor is 10 boutique hotel rooms. Mm-hmm. And the third floor is a renovated opera house.
As the tour was wrapping up, Jim was kind enough to hook me up for a quick meeting with Andrew Meyer, who was a seminal, pivotal player in the preservation and restoration of one of the town's most important and well-known buildings, the Newell Shirt Factory. The Newell Shirt Factory was literally, as its name clearly states, a world-renowned shirt factory that had created quite the reputation around the world. From Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. to Great Britain, the name Robert H. Newell and Company was one that leaders and celebrities knew. From 1918 to 2004, Newell ran his acclaimed shirt factory out of his building in downtown Medina. After a period of downtime, after the factory shut its doors, Andrew came along with a new creative vision that truly rewoke and reinvigorated the building, and along with it, the entire downtown. Awakening this figurative sleeping giant was just the inspirational spark that the town needed that still lights the way forward, even today. As everything in Medina is basically just a short walk away, I headed down the block and around the corner to meet up with Andrew at his building. Your interest in this building was just, you know, it's a seminal building in town, right? So if any building was really going to take the first road to preservation, it kind of was almost fitting that it would be this building, right?
I agree. Smack dab in the center of downtown, sitting empty, probably among the most architecturally ornamented buildings downtown as well, with all of the detailing on the front facade. So, and beautiful spaces on the interior, yeah, with tall ceilings, lots of windows, and windows surrounding the building on all four sides, unlike a lot of the real buildings that are side by side.
Well, because it's a factory, and during that period, they needed the natural light in the factory, and it's wonderful that it was preserved that way.
That's exactly right.
It makes such a statement when you walk in.
It does, and it really opens up a lot of possibilities for rehabilitation, sure, because now you have a lot of windows, a lot of space to reprogram in the inside of the building, right, for other uses that have windows.
Yeah, yeah, and so now you've got the bee garden and the hotel, and so we've got a meadery, the Shirt Factory Cafe, and we've got a hotel in this building. So you really, one business begat three now.
That's right, and my private office as well is here, my law office. So it's a true mixed-use structure.
Yeah, that's amazing, you know, and what this building represents to me, learning the town, just like the viewers are learning the town, is really the possibilities. You know, what can really happen, you know, because people need to see this. They need to see in their own towns the possibilities for buildings that may have been sitting for decades. A town's architecture, and ultimately its preservation, plays a vital role in how any town is perceived by not only its residents, but certainly by anyone passing through. From its celebrated sandstone buildings, to its in-town harbor, to the sheer wealth of architectural styles the town has on display. From its main street, through its walkable tree-lined streets, Medina is really something to experience. And thankfully, through the selfless efforts of multiple groups and individuals in the town, it can all be enjoyed and experienced for many future generations to come. This episode of Small Town Western New York was made possible by the following supporters.